Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we're doing aura readings, and everyone's coming up Scarlet and Violet. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including the announcement of a whole new generation of Pokemon. And then on Thursday, we're kicking off Kirby Month. But Mark, in the meantime, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, Kirby Month is mere days away at this point.
No, I mean, Kirby Month is now.
That's right.
Kirby Month is
true.
March, which means by the time anyone is hearing this.
That's true. We've crossed the threshold. And it is true that Patrick, this is such a good point. I'm glad you brought this up. It is true that our first episode in Kirby Month that officially marks Kirby Month is this.
Right.
But the first one we talked about Kirby will not happen until Thursday. But that doesn't mean that every day in March we should not be celebrating Kirby Month.
Right. No, I mean, absolutely. Any day, any moment, if you're awake, if you're asleep, if you're thinking at all, you should be thinking about Kirby in one form or another.
Right. And how this would be different for you and I than any other month, I'm not really sure. So we'll just have to give like an extra thought to Kirby.
Spare an extra thought for you, Kirby. If you would like to borrow a non-Kirby game from me, as in, say, my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch, you can certainly get on the list. To do that, all you got to do is email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com and give us a mailing address where I can send you my copy of Sonic Forces for the Nintendo Switch. There may be a copy of Untitled Goose Game in there. It's just a thing that happens.
Another thing you can do is you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. We appreciate it so much. It helps people find the show. Patrick and I really enjoy reading all of the reviews. If you leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on the U.S. Apple Podcast Store, we can see it, and so we'll give you a shout-out on the show. If you leave us a review anywhere else, or you share the show in some other way, definitely let us know. Hit us up on Twitter, send us an email, and we'll give you a shout-out, just like we're about to give a shout-out to Wood and Pooh, who left us a 5-star review on the U.S. Apple Podcast Store.
Now, and just to be clear, that is Wood and, like an ampersand,
yes.
Pooh. Okay.
That's right. That's exactly right. So thank you very much, Wood and Pooh.
Also, shout out to the Mora Bros Twitter account that was tweeting about our Kirby this Kirby month that we are now currently in.
Yes, thank you so much.
And then look, we've had a busy couple weeks. I think maybe just a busy one single week where we've maybe gotten a couple things wrong or a couple of things that need to be addressed. So, Mark, this first one is yours. I'm going to let you own it.
Okay, all right. This first one is a big blow. It's from Omnijake on Twitter. He did me the courtesy of not putting me on blast, didn't at the show, didn't at Patrick in this as well,
That's
just
right.
Added me saying, I'm sorry to inform you. I have to give a little bit of context before I get into this.
A little bit.
So last week I talked about playing Dragon Quest XI-S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch, was gabbing it up, talking about how much I liked it, and kept talking about this character named Salvatore is what I called him, just over and over. Salvatore this, Salvatore that. And Omnijake, nice enough to kind of pull me aside and be like, sorry to inform you.
It was a call-in moment. That's what it was.
Salvatore is actually named Sylvando. Should have known that.
Yep.
Did know that. For some reason, repeatedly just called him Salvatore. But 100% correct.
And here's where like I have to also apologize, because it's my job to be like, Mark, you're saying it wrong. But I didn't do it. In fact, I'm sure I said Salvatore back to you. Because I wasn't. Look, I knew the shape of his name,
right? Yeah,
and
it's been a while since you played it.
It's been a while,
and I was acting so confident. I'm playing the game right now and enjoying it. How could I possibly get the name so wrong?
Why would I know more about the game you're currently playing that I haven't touched in 3 years?
So thank you, Omnijake, as always, for the debug. OmniJake continues, and I can give a little advice if you're wondering what to put in his, meaning Sylvando's skill tree. His magic spells and stuff are really good. And thank you, OmniJake. I did take that advice, and you're right, it has turned out to be very helpful.
Jake also hit me up on Twitter regarding our Thursday episode and said, "Hey, Patrick, correct me if I'm wrong, but doesn't Pokemon Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu allow you to access Pokemon Bank?" I was making the observation that once the Virtual Console versions of Red and Blue are gone, that you won't be able to upload any Gen 1 Pokemon to Pokemon Bank. Technically, that it will still be the case. But Let's Go Eevee and Let's Go Pikachu, you can transport Pokemon through Pokemon Home, which is the same functionality, basically. So this is one where technically I'm still right, but in the spirit of the things, it's actually OmniJake is correct. We can pull those Pokemon, but it does mean that the Gen 2s are still stuck once those the Virtual Console versions go away from the 3DS eShop.
Oh, because I genuinely do not understand how Pokemon Bank and Pokemon Home and all of that works. So Gen 2 on the 3DS Virtual Console, those go up to Pokemon Bank? Is that right?
Gen 1 and Gen 2. So all of the Virtual Console versions that they released on 3DS eShop, you can put those Pokemon into Pokemon Bank and then pull them out to be in other games.
So, okay, but the other games have to support... Basically what I'm asking is, and it's okay if you don't know, but like those Gen 2 on the 3DS that you can put into Pokemon Bank, by the fact that they're in Pokemon Bank, can you not sync that with Pokemon Home, and so they also exist in Pokemon Home?
I think they can be put into Pokemon Home, but something happens to them in the transfer over to it, just because there's more information that each Pokemon has as you get later in the generations.
Oh, okay.
But this is where we get out of our depth real fast because we don't know
100%.
that much or care that much about Pokemon.
Yeah, yep.
So again, I'm only technically right on that one, but I'm going to take it.
Also, 2 debugs coming out of last week's blockbuster 433, where we tried to name as many Hugh Jackman movies as we possibly could.
The first debug, of course, being, and this is the one that I'm most ashamed of, we didn't mention Van Helsing as a movie.
Yeah, we're debugging ourselves. How did we
Jackman
not mention Van Helsing? I was so excited for Van Helsing.
So was I.
It's Steven Sommers, the director of The Mummy, Universal Monsters.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, like Wolverine. I was very excited for Van Helsing. That movie should have been good.
But it's a mess. It's not good at all.
Then the other debug is that in that 433, I mentioned that Halle Berry was in Shark Tale. Of course, she wasn't. She was in Robots, both animated movies around the same time, but very different movies.
Yes. And then we got some emails also as follow-ups to our conversation about the 3DS eShops closing down. Also the Wii U, but no one seemed to engage with that much. But an email from Chariot Goblin who writes, "Hey NCS, regarding the eShop shutdown, August 29th will mark the end of redeeming eShop cards. However, this doesn't mean that you are stopped from adding any more funds afterwards. If you add your Nintendo Network ID to your Nintendo account, your eShop wallet between Switch, 3DS, and Wii U will be shared. Any money you add on your Switch will also show up on your 3DS and Wii U. This should theoretically work even after August 29th.
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, wait a minute, is that true? So I added $50 on the Switch today and then brought up the Wii U, and sure enough, that $50 is there.
Oh, that's awesome.
So whether or not that functionality will continue after August 29th, I guess we still don't know. But 29th is again with redeeming cards. It's May 23rd, I want to say, that you won't be able to do credit card payments directly on the other platforms. But so just be aware that like there may be one more option for how to do that. And then we got an email from Mark, not our Mark, but a different Mark, who said, "Hi, Patrick and Mark. Love the show on the closure of the 3DS and Wii U eShops. Thank you both. Thanks to you both, I now have a bunch more games on my to-buy list. I know you both loved Fire Emblem Three Houses and was wondering if either of you have picked up the Fire Emblem Fates games, Birthright and Conquest. I have played through most of Birthright. I never finished it, but and I don't think Mark has touched either version
No.
of it. Mark goes on to say, I have them both and yet to play them, but I didn't realize that there is a third chapter to the story, Fire Emblem Revelations, which is only accessible through the game like DLC. I hear that it will disappear when they close off the stores, so if you are keen to play all the Fates games, you may want to buy that final chapter before it's no longer available. What a great call out here! The last path through the game, which is subtitled Revelation, is not was never sold except for on like the like collector's edition thing that now retails for like $200. So yes, that is a huge chunk of DLC that is a theoretical third version of the game that like sort of mashes up the other two and is much more challenging than either of the two like normal versions of the game. That will go away. A whole version of a Fire Emblem game.
Oh man, that's crazy. That's such a good call out.
Yeah. Mark also goes on to say, also, every time you mention how good Rusty's Real Deal Baseball is, I have a twinge of jealousy as it was never released here in Australia or in the UK for that matter. With the ridiculous 3DS region locking, the only way I can get it is to port a US machine.
That's absurd. I forgot about that. I am both angry and devastated that people never had access to Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
Also, I just want to take a second to let's not overplay the spectacularness of Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
You're right. We talk about it.
A lot, and it is so interesting and it's so novel.
Yeah.
But the games themselves are fine.
Yeah, the game. Yeah, that's right. The experience of playing the game moment to moment is not that amazing. It's more that's such a good point that it's more just.
Right.
The whole package of Rusty's Real Deal Baseball.
The world we live in is richer because Rusty's Real Deal Baseball exists, but I don't actually want to spend any time playing Rusty's Real Deal Baseball. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. It does. 100%.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for writing in, for telling us where we've been wrong or where we've been technically right, but not correct in the most meaningful ways. Mark, let's get into what we've been playing this week. Mark, I started a new job, so I haven't been playing any video games.
Hey, that's fair.
Yeah.
However, have been playing Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch, and baby, I am in it.
Yes!
I'm thinking about this game all the time. The 5 tracks of music that play on 30-second loops are constantly in my mind. So I am about, I want to say 17 hours in, something like that. I'm going to spoil aspects of the story so Patrick and I can talk about them. So if you are interested in playing this game or you don't want to be spoiled, jump ahead a few minutes and we'll be past the segment. But okay, so and it's difficult to talk about an RPG that is so big like Dragon Quest XI's because
also just to hop in here really quickly, Dragon Quest XI's is bigger than it appears to be at almost every point in the game. It gets bigger successively for 100 hours.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so there are things, I know you're about to talk about things that are big spoilers for you, but there are things that the game does in places where the story goes that you can't even comprehend at this moment.
I am confident that is true, and that's why I'm about to talk about stuff that just happened to me about the game 17 hours in, but I wonder genuinely if it'll even register for you because it's such a footnote, right? But one of the things that I'm really enjoying about this game is that I like the characters and the world so much, and it is reminding me what I like about Dragon Quest so much is it's such a warm and inviting world to live in. Yes, there is conflict, but generally everybody gets along, the world is inviting. It seems like a place where you want to spend time. And I really like it's really fast paced at this point. You go to an area. There's like usually like one problem that you have to solve, like one thing you have to do, but it's not like belabored. There's not really a lot of do this thing and then oops, that's not it. Like go run
Yeah.
to the other side of the world and pick this up and then come back and then I'll tell you nope, that's wrong. It's pretty straight right now. It's pretty straightforward where it's like
it's like episodic in the best kind of way.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so these little like vignettes that you're doing, like they're all so enjoyable. And there is a little bit of a cadence to them where, you know, there's the setup, like you go to, I can't even remember what it's called right now, but this place where there's a fighting tournament. And there's this dude who is your partner for the tournament. And he's like the best guy. He grew up in this orphanage. He's fighting to keep the orphanage open.
Yep.
But all the other fighters are like mysteriously disappearing. And so the twist is that he's been like kidnapping the other fighters and taking them to this big spider that's under the orphanage because the spider has this, it gives off this like venom that the fighter drinks so that way he can win the tournament no matter what. So he's always getting the prize money to keep the orphanage around. And there's like a kind of like a twist to all of the little vignettes. Like the one I did most recently was the ship that you're on washes ashore the first time you go out into the open ocean, and there's a mermaid there, Michelle, and she's waiting for her like one true love who promised to return to her and has never come back, and so she asks you to go to this island to like retrieve him, and you have the person that she's waiting for has died. It's been many years, and
she doesn't understand. She's a mermaid. They're naturally long lived. And of course, the love of her life, who was shipwrecked on that same like atoll,
just a human,
decades ago, has now passed away.
And you know, there's a little bit more to it, like the stuff that happens in the village. But basically, his grandson is or son, I think grandson.
I think it's grandson.
Yeah, is there. And you have the option of going back to Michelle, the mermaid, and telling her the truth that the person she's waiting for is dead, or you have the option of saying that he's going to come someday. And I don't know what happens if you tell her that he's going to come, if you lie to her, but I told her that he's gone, and so she goes to the island, meets the grandson, sees that the grave of like the person that she loved, and then she returns to the ocean and like turns into sea foam.
Yeah.
And it's
beautiful. Yeah.
It's really like affecting. And I felt that same way about a little bit before that, after the fighting tournament. There's some twists in the story, and you realize the relationship of some new characters who join your party. And there's this moment where you're at like the ruins of the like castle that you were born in, like that your parents died and all of this kind of stuff, they protecting you essentially. And now that you've returned, that you can do this ritual that basically all of the people whose souls have not been able to return to the life tree, now that you have returned, you're able to do this ritual that will send it there. And so you do this ritual, and like the way that it's shown is all these like luminescent butterflies. There's just like thousands of them, and they make this trail that goes up to this giant like life tree that's in the sky. And I really found it like affecting. Like I found it really beautiful because the characters are so appealing. It's so sweet. Like it's so like good natured that all of it. It just feels really like lovely and earned, and I'm just really enjoying my time with the game.
Yeah, well, and like the thing that's so nice about it, and so nice about like the episodic structure of it, is that it's like the game is 100 fairy tales, right? And they're connected, but like in a lot of ways, you are getting satisfying endings every hour or two in that game, and none of them are like moralizing. A lot of them are sad, and they all just make the world feel very big.
Yeah.
Right. And that you're like playing a meaningful part in it. I don't know. I'm so glad that you're experiencing this. I'm glad that you had the same like moving experience with Michelle the Mermaid. Cause I remember playing through that section and just being like, oh, like what? Like this is one of those video game stories that I'm going to remember forever.
Yeah. Oh, well, especially because it starts out, and even though, like I was saying, you kind of begin to anticipate like what the twist or whatever is going to be. Like, it it starts out and you're like, okay. I just feel like in other video games, I would go and I would like find the guy, or there would be some, like
Yeah.
this just felt more emotionally satisfying than I was expecting from a video game.
Yeah.
And one thing that I think is really interesting about it is 100% all age appropriate. Like
Yeah.
anybody can play this game, but I think that it is very like emotionally mature
I agree with that.
in the relationships between people in like a very like sweet and satisfying way. Like I think you were saying like a fairy tale, like it makes you feel good. It is like life affirming in a
Yeah.
way that I am really enjoying right now. So, and like the combat is fun. I do think that I'm right now you have the option in the game in turning on in controlling characters through tactics. So essentially all the characters in your party can autoplay themselves, but you can give them commands like go all out or play strategically or focus on healing, like hold back. And the way I'm doing it right now is I'm controlling myself, but
Right.
then the other 3 members in my party, I'm just using tactics. And I'm curious how you played it, Patrick, because I feel like maybe I'm missing something I wonder if it'd be more satisfying if I was controlling each character, because they do not like initiate pep powers amongst themselves in the way that like I
Yeah.
could.
Yeah.
And sometimes they attack enemies that I'm like, no, we should all. And maybe I just need to be more flexible and not do it like one way or the other. But what was your experience?
I mean, I went through like every possible, like there was a while where I was like, everyone's on auto fight, and everyone is like, just don't use MP, right? Or everyone is on go all out, and then I'll just like charge them back up between fights. And then usually if I'm going into a boss fight, I turn everyone back on like, I control you. But like, when you let everyone auto battle, then you only get to know the luminaries' abilities, which aren't really as much fun as everyone else's. So, I mean, I literally did every possible permutation, including sometimes just fighting it all on my own. So, like, you really just got to find what's right for you. But I do think to play the game the best you can, to do like the best fighting you can, you have to do it all manually.
And I think that makes sense. And I think what you're saying about like it'll just depend on the situation. Like if you're just grinding or just trying to mow down characters, probably having it all most on auto makes a lot of sense. But I do think boss fights or those bigger battles, I could be doing it more strategically if I was choosing every character. I like that the option exists. But
Yeah.
I just like you were saying, I think it would be I'd be having more fun in combat if I had more control. And
Yeah, but I mean, it is a real contextual thing though, because there certainly are times where like you're still enjoying the combat, but like you're just running from like here to there, and like you don't want to have to make decisions about like how you beat up a Drake or whatever.
and you were so right to turn the fight speed all
Way
the way up.
all the way up.
Yeah, I can't imagine
Crank it
going
up.
back. Yeah. But anyways, I'm loving it. I think about it all the time. All I want to do is ever go back and like continue playing it and see where this is going. I do not doubt for a second that there is a ton more in here, because I have not been back to like Tickington or whatever
Right.
whatever the like 816-bit 2D version of the world where you can choose the different tomes to go into. I have not been back, and I assume at some point like I'm going to be directed to go there. I can go back if I want to, but I haven't yet.
I mean,
So-
you never have to go back.
Oh, interesting.
But I mean, well, you are like 5 calamities away from the end.
Oh god.
And I mean like paradox shifting calamities.
Okay.
And I'm excited for you to experience all of them. And if you ever need to just like vent about something that's happening, or if something is sad, like
I
let me
like
know.
all the party members so much. I don't want to lose any of them, but I can feel the inevitability.
Who are you rolling with right now?
So right now I am. It's me, Eric,
Me.
Jade,
Uh-huh.
who I got just recently,
Yeah.
and then Sylvando.
Okay, that's an interesting party.
Yeah, so that's who I'm using right now. I like Veronica so much as a character. I was sad to take her out of my party, but I'm trying to just like just roll through and like combat encounters as quickly
Yeah.
as possible.
I stuck with Veronica and Serena in the party for a long time. Like I was Luminary, Veronica, Serena, someone else in that fourth slot, and like sometimes it was Jade, sometimes it was Rob, sometimes Eric, and obviously sometimes Sylvando. So I just listed all the characters. But yeah, I'm going to stop talking now because we will talk about Dragon Quest XI as Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition in future episodes.
Good point.
And because I don't want to spoil anything for you, because the game is a 3-year-old jumble in my head. I don't really remember what all happened. I played this game before the pandemic.
It's so crazy.
I've
had this game for so
you have.
long.
So long.
Yeah. And I kept putting it off. But I'm so glad that I am playing it again. It really does remind me like how good Dragon Quest could be.
Yep. All right. Well, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
On Friday, March 4th, another JRPG that could potentially become a time vampire in your life, Triangle Strategy, is released for the Nintendo Switch.
Mark, I never went back to that demo where I played for like 2 hours, had one fight, and just talked to a lot of characters that were kind of boring.
Yeah, your experience with it 100% turned me off on the game. Didn't even bother to download the demo. I don't know. I feel like I am going to say right now that I think eventually I will check out the demo, but I don't even know that that's true.
Yeah, I mean, I would say at least check it out, get through the first fight, even though it takes kind of a while to get there. But yeah, I don't. It feels like for me a little bit of a discouraging trend that like this level of Square game is not hitting with me the way I want it to. Like I liked Octopath was the one that I like played, right?
Octopath was a solid triple.
Yes. Yeah, a wobbly triple maybe. But like I could never get into Bravely Default 2. And I'm not excited about this one.
Yeah, so I think a little bit what has happened to me is that now there are just so many like good games and not enough time to play.
Yeah.
And also I feel like it's just a good reminder that I don't think I've only experienced Octopath Traveler, like, so I can't really speak to Bravely Default and those games. I know that people, when they got into Bravely Default 2, really enjoyed it, the people that played it. But I feel like it's like, oh yeah, this is kind of like the mid-tier Square Enix output that I remember from the DS and 3DS eras where, you know, like, it's very niche. It's not, but more often than not, it's just kind of like middle of the road.
Yeah.
And personally, I think I still really like the HD 2D art style, but any excitement I had for Triangle Strategy, I have transferred and have now put on the Dragon Quest 3 remake in this style.
Live for me, baby.
Oh yeah, I'm excited for that too. So yeah, not really sure what to make of Triangle Strategy.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested to see where like the reviews shake out. And also now that all of the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters are out on Steam and mobile, now I'm just waiting for the day that they announce them for console, because I will buy a lot of those. And they're not exactly the HD. In fact, they are not the HD 2D aesthetic, but they are still very pixely and just prettier than they used to be.
Absolutely.
All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. All right, let's get into a regular segment on this show. A segment that's called 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So for the duration of one performance, 433, Mark and I will talk about something not all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. Mark, cue us up here.
Yeah, so this week, what we're going to do, kind of following on from last week, is...
Kinda.
Well, Hugh Jackman, I suppose, is the connection between the two. So what we're going to do is IMDb, the Internet Movie Database, has something called a star meter, which is essentially a ranking of all of the actors on the site. And they're given this star meter ranking based on some formula that IMDb has.
Proprietary.
But part
we
of
don't
it,
get to know.
Yeah, part of it's like page views, like how excited people are about different projects that they're on, that sort of thing. Interestingly, I found out in preparing for this that the star meter is now behind IMDb Pro.
Oh.
Yeah, it used to be just something that was available to everybody,
Yeah.
but no. Now it's part of Pro, which I signed up for a free trial for so we could do this. So, Hugh Jackman's star meter ranking out of all people with star meter rankings is 609.
Okay, 609.
So what we're going to do is we're going to choose actors, and then before looking them up, we are going to guess whether we think their star meter is above or below 609.
Okay, so let's start with like an easy one. Let's say Robert Pattinson.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I'm gonna say definitely above. Right? He's got a Batman movie coming out.
Yeah, I 100%.
Yeah.
Do you think that Robert Pattinson is in the top 50 in star meter right now?
How would we know?
I'm going to look it up.
No, but I mean, will we know that he's in the top 50?
Well, won't we be?
Is there a ceiling?
If he is, well, sure. The ceiling is 1.
Oh, okay. So the lower the number, the better.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
If you are the number 1 in the star meter,
Right.
then
okay.
you're the number 1 hottest person that people are
Right.
searching for on IMDb.
But it's a rank and not a meter. Because a meter, you would think that the higher the meter, the better it is.
The mysteries of how the IMDb Pro star meter work are just that, a mystery. But yes, you are. It is correct to say that the lower your ranking, the higher you're doing.
Yeah, then probably top 50,
Okay.
right? Like I don't know who else. Well, okay, let's see. Robert Pattinson got a Batman movie coming out. Mark,
Not in the top 50.
okay,
He's number 95.
Okay.
On the star meter. So solid 100, but lower than I thought would be.
yeah, definitely lower. I wonder, maybe the recency thing isn't as heavily weighted as I think it should be.
Oh, sure. Or maybe we're still a few days out before
Sure.
Batman releases. Maybe in the next couple of days.
The reviews are dropping.
Well, yeah. Maybe it hasn't taken effect. Maybe they run it overnight.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah. That's a great point.
Okay, so if Robert Pattinson is 95,
Mm-hmm.
who do we think could be higher? Who's hot right now that might be even higher than 95?
Zendaya.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
So between the end of Euphoria, the end of that Spider-Man trilogy, and the fact that she's Zendaya, I feel like she's got to be
No. I was
Oh.
shaking my head, and you nailed it so much, Patrick.
Yeah.
Zendaya's star meter. She's number 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, let's try to get to a single digit.
Okay.
Who do you think could be a single digit? And do you want to go classic on this? Is it Tom Hanks or
Do you know what? I'm gonna guess that
someone younger?
I'm gonna guess that it's somebody younger because let's look up Tom Hanks. I'm going to guess that Tom Hanks is above
Whoa.
Hugh Jackman,
Okay.
but
Still
in the
in the-
200s.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see where Tom Hanks falls.
Tom Hanks is. Sorry, they must really be crunching the numbers because it's taking a second. Ooh, I was wrong, and I'm sorry I doubted Tom Hanks. Tom Hanks is his star meter is 107.
Okay. Still not as good as Robert Pattinson or
Down
Zendaya.
23 points this week, FYI.
Ooh, tough. Okay. Well, let's get someone in single digits.
Okay, let's try.
Probably
let's
got it. Well, should we try Tom Holland?
Yeah, let's try Tom Holland.
Also, just had an Uncharted movie come out, and he's Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
I feel like he's got to be pretty. He's got to be pretty high.
He is number 20.
Okay.
So less than Zendaya.
Below Zendaya. Okay. Do we not know famous people anymore?
Oh, I mean, that is for sure true. That's for sure true. Okay, let's see if I wonder if there's a way that I can just find star meter rankings. Oh, well, I guess we'll
never know.
we'll never know.
Also, we never guessed anyone who was less famous than Hugh Jackman. Does that bug you? He's so far down that list. He hasn't done anything recently, right?
Not movie-wise. What do we think was the last Hugh Jackman movie? The last one I remember
Uh-huh.
was
Logan? No, Greatest Showman.
Greatest Showman, I think, was the last one I remember.
I mean, he's in a version of Oklahoma that was available on Amazon recently, so maybe that's it.
But I'm going to guess that was filmed a long time ago. Should I look it up real fast?
Yeah, let's look it
I
up
know
real
we're
fast.
over,
Yeah.
but this feels like vital information.
This is now outside the parameters of 433.
Okay.
I appreciate
Free Guy.
Oh, he's in Free Guy?
Yeah, and he's in something called Reminiscence that was released
Mm.
in 2021.
You know, I bet Ryan Reynolds has a really high star meter.
Oh,
ranking.
I bet. Do you think it is higher than Tom Hanks,
Yes.
who's like 107?
Yeah, I would guess he's double digits.
You're right. He's number 74.
All right. Still never got to a single digit. Also, this has gone on way too long now. We were accompanied by an ensemble at the Musical Instrument Museum in Phoenix. Mark, let's get into the news.
I have to remember to cancel IMDb Pro now, but worth it.
Right. You can like set a reminder on your phone.
That's right.
Yeah.
Pokemon. Oh yeah, go ahead.
When we did the episode where we were casting the famous detectives as Nintendo characters, I did sign up for like a free month of like BritBox or something through Amazon, and I forgot to cancel it for months.
That's what they want.
That's
That's
what they want.
how they get
That's
you.
what they want.
Pokemon Day was last week or beginning of this week, depending on how you count weekends. It was on Sunday. The Pokemon companies had a 15-minute long Pokemon Presents video with several updates for existing games, but really the barn burner was they premiered a teaser trailer for the next mainline generation Pokemon games coming out this year, Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet.
Very exciting. Mark, normally when I break down one of these presentations for use on the show here, I do them in order. I'm like, look, we'll get to the exciting thing at the end just like they did. But here, I was like, forget it. We got to get right to Scarlet and Violet. Should we introduce the new starters?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So we don't see a whole lot of like gameplay. There's not a ton of detail in the sizzle reel itself. But one thing,
Well, and a lot of the trailer is a security guard at the Game Freak offices, just like walking around and hearing noises.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
doesn't seem like it has anything to do with the game. Right?
No. Although I guess we know basically nothing about the game, so maybe it'll turn out that a security guard at an office building is like a vital part of it, and they were just teasing us all along. But what we did see an image of the starters, Sprigatito, which is a grass cat, little kitty cat. Fue Coco, which is a fire like crocodile dinosaur looking
I think
thingy.
the Coco implies crocodile, yeah.
And then Quaxley.
Yeah, who's a duck who's wearing like a big blue hat.
Is it a hat? I think it's a hairstyle.
Hey, with Pokemon it's impossible to know.
I think my heart belongs to the little crocodile, the fire crocodile.
Really?
Yeah.
Mark, an unpopular opinion. I think you're sporting there.
Crazy to me. I saw so many people excited for this grass cat, and I've got to tell you, me personally, I feel like if I was to come up with the most generic Pokemon ever, it would be this cat.
I feel like there's always one of them, right? Where you're like, no one even tried on that. I'm in love with the Quaxley. I think a little blue duck is adorable. But I'm excited that you have an affinity for the Fue Coco, which he has the best name, right?
Yes, and he's also it seems to me like wearing, I don't know, his eyes run into, it's almost like he's wearing a mask, right? Because his like,
who are you talking about?
The Fue Coco, because he has like he's red except the top of his snout and his eyes, the area around his eyes it's all white. It's like a mask almost.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think he has dead old reptile eyes, right? Because he's like crocodile. So I think what we're seeing is his eyes are just this solid black, right? That there's no white of his eye.
Oh, I see what you're saying. But I guess what I'm saying is it looks like he's wearing a mask.
Okay, it does sort of look like he's wearing a mask. I do like that the Foy Coco is sort of shaped like a chili pepper. I think that's adorable, and it's a fun like little twist on like heat and like a fire type. So yeah, and honestly, I don't hate the Sprigatito.
They're all cute.
They're all cute.
They're all cute. I think I am just being a little defensive of the Fue Coco because not very many people are picking them, and I think that's crazy.
Here's Mark. Here's what I love is that there's no easily bullyable starter this time.
There's no Sobble.
We don't have a Sobble here. So help me God. If we have to play as another Sobble, I'm going to jam it into its own locker and steal its lunch money.
One thing that's also nice about it is they all have like cute little feet. Like they're all very
yeah.
Right? They all have like cute little feet in their own way.
Yeah.
It's just very I just want to see them stomping around.
I'll tell you what, I'm not wild about the names of these games, Scarlet and Violet. They almost rhyme, but they don't. And why are we're just back to colors now?
Well, I don't have anything against the fact that we're just back to colors. I think it's weird. I actually don't have that strong of an opinion about it, but I do think it's kind of weird that Scarlet is essentially red and which already exists.
Right.
And then I don't think of Scarlet and Violet as being like opposites. Although I guess the other games aren't necessarily, they're not like diametrically opposed.
Yeah. Sun and Moon.
Sword and Shield.
Others as well.
There's like synergy between them. I guess I don't know what to make of it.
Yeah, I guess I just enjoyed that we were like going somewhere weirder with them, and to go to just like deeper cut colors of Scarlet and Violet. I'm like, oh, okay, then we're just doing what we used to do.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I would say that we were ever getting like crazy.
Sword and Shield's pretty crazy.
Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, the legendaries were pretty wild.
Yeah.
That like one just had a sword head, and then a shield head, and then the other one had a sword like permanently
in its
mouth.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. So this is Generation 9. It appears to be taking place in a Mediterranean setting. People have speculated Spain or Portugal inspired,
which is pretty cool. I like it when they are doing like very specific settings now, and I guess that has always sort of been a function of them, but just I don't know, like getting into sort of the granularity of like I really like Alola. I think the Galarian region is cool, and I just I want to see another one like that.
And not in the trailer itself, but afterwards in the press release surrounding it, the game is being touted as an open world game, which is the first time that like a mainline generation Pokemon game is being described that way. And it goes on, quote, where various towns with no borders blend seamlessly into the wilderness. So looks like maybe it's taking some clues from Arceus.
Yeah, it definitely looks like that because in the limited amount of footage from the game that we actually see, looks an awful lot like Arceus, right? That we see Pokemon like out in the wild doing what they do. So not quite the same as what we saw in like the wild area in Sword and Shield, and really just kind of looking like Legends Arceus, which I'm down for.
The games, they also announced that the games will link back to Pokemon Home. We obviously don't have any word yet if this will include the entire Pokedex, but if you had to take a guess, Patrick, what do you think?
No.
But more probably, right? More than we got
in Sword and Shield?
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I mean, the Pokedex in Legends Arceus is quite a bit smaller than it's like fewer than 300 Pokemon, I think. That like they really scaled that back because every Pokemon has its own like behavior out in the world. So and like when that's the case, it never bothers me because like I don't have room in my head for 1,000 Pokemon. But yeah, I don't know. We will wait to hear the size of the Pokedex, but I would not be surprised to find out that it's only like 400 or 500.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, that it's not going to be the entire Pokedex, but it's going to be more than we've seen
Sure.
in like Switch games so far.
Do you know offhand? Probably not. Because why would we? How many are in Sword and Shield?
I don't. I don't know how many it ended up with, because I believe they added them in
to
like
it, yeah.
the additional DLC. So yeah, coming this year, which kind of feels a little bit crazy, just because Arceus was just released to a lot of acclaim and really good sales. But it's been 3 years since the last generation, so to me, it
Right. So
doesn't.
like they're on schedule there. I mean, yeah, like Arceus is the one that's like off the schedule, right? Like because Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, that was the Pokemon for the end of last year, and then like here's another one. What's weird to me is that both Scarlet and Violet and Arceus all developed by Game Freak, which is a lot for a company that's not that big to do, right?
But we know that they have multiple teams.
Yeah.
Like, we know that they have like the Pokemon Let's Go team, and I don't even know that it's that
Yeah,
because
regimented.
because what I remember is that there's a lot of developers move from team to team, so it's not necessarily that like all the developers are on one project and then they are forever on that like A team, or the alternate team or whatever. But so, and because Game Freak didn't develop the remakes from last year, so one team was on Arceus, another team could have been on
Yeah.
this new generation. It doesn't feel that crazy to me. Another thing I was thinking about is that I feel like it as like the target audience for Pokemon games are kids, and and I remember when I was a kid, I just remember time moving so much slower.
Yeah.
So it's like 3 years between a generation. Like if you were 6 when Sword and Shield came out,
Right, then
and
you're
you're 9,
9. Yeah.
and then by the time the next generation comes out, you will be 12 and potentially like aging out of Pokemon. Like it makes sense to me that there is a regular cadence to this.
Yeah, no, that it does totally make sense to me, and like, I do think that they discovered, or they developed an intriguing, fun new system in Arceus, and there must be some sort of drive to be like, okay, now let's put that in one of the main ones where you do all the things that you do in Pokemon, including challenging like gym leaders and all that kind of normal Pokemon stuff that doesn't happen in Arceus. So like I think they were developing the weird new idea as its own thing and already knew we need that new weird idea in like a full blown Pokemon game. Not to say that Arceus isn't a full game, because it totally is, but that's almost incidental, right? Like it could have been a much smaller experience with still the same like size world, but just with like less stuff to do. And then it would have been okay to implement all that stuff in the new games. But yeah, this is like for me best case scenario.
Yeah, I completely agree. I also thought it was interesting. Obviously, there's a lot going around, and there's a lot going on in the world right now. But this kind of flew under the radar right up until announcement. I didn't feel like we had the weeks of speculation or rumors that this is the fact that we had a brand new generation announcement. I feel like took a little people by surprise a little bit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, we talked about this. Pokemon Presents coming up either in last week's episode or possibly even the week before. And I don't even remember what we said about it, but it could have been that we made a joke being like, so they're going to show off the next, it was just so far, I feel like, from anyone's brain. And partially because like Arceus is still the talk of the Pokemon community, right? And like the greater like video game community at the moment. So, well done on launching a surprise here.
Speaking of Arceus, on Sunday they released an update, the Daybreak update for free, version 1.1.0, that includes some new missions, including one where you investigate, quote, mass outbreaks of Pokemon.
I don't know what that means.
And battle legendary
what's
Pokemon
an outbreak
and wardens.
of Pokemon?
I don't know.
What does that mean?
You can also enter the password Arceus Adventure in the Mystery Gifts menu before the 31st of March to get 30 Ultra Balls, 30 Gigaton Balls, and 30 Jet Balls.
I am definitely going to get those balls. That will help me capture some things that will not stay in the Pokeballs when I throw them at them.
They also announced that a new web animated series based on Legends Arceus is coming out this year and showed off a little concept art for that.
And that concept art is like consistent with the art style of Arceus, a little bit more like strokey, a little bit more like painterly.
There were also updates for other games last week, or announcements of updates. Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. You can get a shaman by talking to Professor Oak on Route 224. Pokemon Masters EX celebrates 2.5 years with like a bunch of stuff. I personally have no idea what Pokemon Masters EX is or does or how it works.
Yeah, I also want to just call bullshit right now on celebrating a 2.5-year anniversary. You gotta wait. You gotta wait 6 months, and then you can do 3 years. That's fine.
But I feel like this is true for myself as well. I feel like when Nintendo celebrated Mario's 35th anniversary, it warped everybody's brain, including mine.
That's true. That's true.
To be like, because last year was like Metroid's 35th anniversary or something.
Right, we're like, where's the 35th anniversary celebration?
like that
I
was
was
the thing.
decrying it at the time. Do
Yeah.
you remember that? It doesn't make sense. 35th isn't important.
It warped our brains.
Yeah.
Pokemon Cafe Remix adds Pokemon Day bonuses and a delivery mode. I've got to say, I've never played Pokemon Cafe Remix before, but boy, does this game look super cute.
Well, like a great twist on the Pokemon art style. And the delivery mode where you're like playing some bird thing flying around delivering treats and croissants to Pokemon. Yes.
Yeah, it just looks really adorable. Pokemon Unite, Hoopa is in the game, and everyone can try it out. Also, if you play between now and March 14th, you get an in-game hat and t-shirt celebrating Pokemon Day 2022. And then finally, on Pokemon Go, the Alolan Pokemon begin appearing in the game today, March 1st. I'm assuming in celebration of Kirby Month.
I would assume that as well. In advance of Kirby Month, right when they were running the presentation, they were saying that the Alolan Executor it was already appearing in the game. That's the one that's so tall it can't be on the screen at one time. Just a really tall like palm tree with like coconuts for heads. So yeah, that's a lot of new stuff came to old Pokemon games, and of course an exciting announcement that we're getting brand new Pokemon.
Former Nintendo of America staffer Jim Warnell revealed in the Did You Know Gaming show on YouTube that he worked on the localization for an F-Zero game for the Virtual Boy.
Yes. These are all my code words, right?
Yes.
These are all of the things where it's like, what only Patrick will care or know about this. Virtual Boy, only like 17 games ever published for that thing. One of them could have been an F-Zero game. Come on.
But it was not to be. The game was set to be called Zero Racers, and according to Warnell, they had a completed manual package and label done for the game. Like, it was ready to go, but I'm imagining that the quick crash and burn of the Virtual Boy ended up putting an end to it.
Yeah, it had an incredibly short lifespan. And honestly, if they had released the F-Zero game, Zero Racers, that would just be one more game that we would be mourning not having access to on even the 3DS eShop. Why did the 3DS never have a Virtual Boy virtual console?
Someday, I really believe that we'll get a Virtual Boy console someday.
Wow.
Forever's a really long time.
Forever is a really long time. You're right.
Nintendo has acquired SRD Company Limited, with the acquisition expected to close on April 1st, 2022. So the SRD is a company that has been working with Nintendo since the 80s, and their offices in Kyoto are actually inside Nintendo headquarters. So they've helped in the development of a lot of games over the years, a lot of Nintendo games, including more recently Game Builder Garage and Animal Crossing New Horizons. So from Nintendo's announcement, they say, quote, completion of the acquisition, exclusive of treasury stock, will serve to strengthen the management base of SRD and secure the availability of software development resources for Nintendo, in addition to facilitating an anticipated improvement in software development efficiency, end quote.
So this is basically on par with Microsoft purchasing Activision Blizzard, right?
Well, I do think what's interesting about this one is just that they've worked so closely with Nintendo for so long, but have not actually been part of Nintendo. Just makes you wonder what was the impetus for the acquisition now. Was it
Right.
like management was ready to retire and sell, and so, it made sense for Nintendo to acquire them at this point? I just think it's interesting. Doesn't seem like we should expect a ton to
Anything to
change,
change.
but
Yeah. I mean, it almost just speaks more to like the past of it rather than, what it means for now or for the future, that like Nintendo has historically been so good at having partners that they're just like impossibly close to, right? We think of like, Fire Emblem and Kirby as like those are Nintendo things, but like neither Intelligent Systems nor HAL Laboratories are owned by Nintendo. They just like have the best relationships in the world with them. So like I don't know, it's just such a cool little like piece of what Nintendo is, that they can get so much done kind of by like the goodwill that they've just from being around forever.
it also reminds me how big the video game world is.
Yeah.
And when we talk about like games being developed by Nintendo, I'm sure there are a lot of companies like SRD who are just kind of under the radar. I'm not even entirely sure what SRD does, but like making assets or, just other like building block code that doesn't get the same sort of praise, that EAD Tokyo does, or something like that.
Right.
Last February, Fall Guys was announced for the Switch with an anticipated summer 2021 release. The game was later delayed to 2022, but we haven't heard anything about it for a while. But in the Season 6 mid-season update blog post last week, the developer Mediatonic confirmed the Switch version was still in the works and that they're finalizing development.
Okay. Fall Guys was a good game. I totally feel like its moment has passed, and maybe it'll get a new moment when it's on Switch. But like, it seems like it's done, right?
It does seem like it's fallen out of the everyday like vernacular, but it feels like a lot of games that happens to, but that they're thriving. They're just
sure.
not like constantly, because I think like Ninjago is that the
That's the Lego
that's
thing.
the Lego thing. What was the
Hold on, is it Ninjala?
maybe the kind of like Splatoon-esque
Yeah.
looking game, but like you don't hear people talking about that. You really don't hear people talking about like I'm blanking on the name of
Describe it. Give me the bad version.
any of the battle
Royales?
yeah, any of those like battle royales.
I mean,
other than
Fortnite,
Fortnite,
right.
but I'm sure they're thriving. But yeah, I agree. It's not top of mind anymore.
Ninjala is in fact the game that we were trying to remember the name of. Yes.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Fall Guys actually come to Switch.
Super Smash Bros. Will not be one of the games appearing at EVO 2022. No version of the game will be featured at this year's event, despite Ultimate and Melee being mainstays for a long time now.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a weird one, and you have to put into context that EVO, this is the like premier fighting game tournament held every year in Las Vegas, except for last year when was that last year that it was canceled?
2 years
It
ago?
might have been 2 years ago. May have been canceled 2 years ago and then also didn't happen last year. Whatever the case, was purchased by Sony. So Evo is a Sony product, but when they bought it, they said that they wouldn't restrict any games from the lineup regardless of who develops or publish them. Their statement reads, since 2007, we've seen historic Super Smash Bros. Moments created at EVO events. We are saddened that Nintendo has chosen not to continue their legacy with us this year. In the future, we hope to once again celebrate the Super Smash Bros. Community alongside them.
It definitely sounds like it was Nintendo's choice, which I guess kind of follows because a few months ago at this point, we had a news item where Nintendo announced that they were pursuing their own like officially sanctioned Nintendo sponsored event, like Super Smash Brothers Ultimate tournament events.
Yeah. Well, and part of that, and we talked about this at the time, is that or part of the reasoning for that is, Evo was canceled and sort of went dark for a little bit and was in a position to be purchased because there was sort of like rampant abuse within the Evo community, especially within the Smash community, and especially targeted towards minors, which is a lot of Smash players. So one of the things that I applauded Sony for at the time was like, they can be there, they can be the adults in the room to be like, hey, when stuff's going down, we can hold people accountable, we can fire people. There's no like cult of personality anymore if Sony is at the top of it. But then it also makes sense that Nintendo would be like, we're still wary of this thing, and we're only going to do our own contests where we get to be the adults in the room. Well, it's a bummer that not all of the fighting games are in the same place. I think it is possible that Nintendo will, put the right amount of pomp and circumstance behind their own Smash tournaments. It just won't be alongside whatever is happening at Evo.
Finally, even though the final fighter has been released for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, there are still lots of Smash Series amiibo out there in the future that haven't been released yet. We do have a release date for the Min Min amiibo now, though. It'll be released on April 29th.
Wow, didn't we see that thing showed off in a Sakurai Presents, just like a mock-up of it or something?
Probably at some point. The in that same announcement, they said that the Steve and Alex from Minecraft amiibo are delayed from spring 2022 to later in the year. We're, of course, not talking about supply chain and all that, but you can guess what the culprit is there. Also, still lingering out there are Sephiroth, Pyra, Mithra, and Kazuya. Those were all announced. So at this point, it seems likely we're getting into 2023 and beyond.
Yeah,
that these are going to be trickling out.
Let me ask you this. Do you think we will? They didn't announce it along with the character, but will we ever get a Sora amiibo?
Yeah, I feel like the fact that they didn't announce it was telling.
I think they're hoping to get away with something here.
Yeah. So no, I mean, also at this point, it'd probably show up in 2025. So I guess anything is possible.
Along with the new model of Switch. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and follow us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you are listening to podcasts. Do we always need to say wherever you get your podcasts? I think people get it, right?
I think it's nice to shout it out.
It's inclusive.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. If you like the episode, please share it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever you share stuff. You can follow us on Twitter. I'm at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.
Have you ever encountered an unexplained hairy bipedal hominid in the woods?
Have you received telepathic messages from an unidentified aerial phenomenon?
If so, then you need to listen to Bigfoot Collectors Club. I'm Michael McMillan.
And I'm Bryce Johnson.
And together with super producer
Riley Bray,
we make up the Bigfoot Collectors Club.
That's right. Every week we talk to actors, comedians, writers, and paranormal experts about their personal paranormal histories and share stories of high strangeness.
Like the time when we talked to Craig Ferguson about the Loch Ness Monster and when a sea witch told him he had raven magic.
Or the time I asked Pitch Perfect's Anna Camp her opinion on cattle mutilations. Past guests have included Rachel Bloom, Jen Kirkman, Paul F. Tompkins, Bobcat Goldthwait, and more.
So if you've ever been abducted alongside 5 reindeer by an alien with drills for hands or witnessed Bigfoot crawl out of an interdimensional portal,
don't laugh, happens all the time.
Then check out Bigfoot Collectors Club on Campfire Media or wherever you get your podcasts.
Bigfoot Collectors Club. You're here to believe us.
Wait, is that how it goes?
Campfire.